a sigh of relief, but not for everyone.
Absolutely not. I won't get that as soon as I can at all.
As COVID-19 vaccines arrive, so does a reckoning with racism in healthcare.
Governor Inslee wants to overhaul investigations of police misconduct.
Pressing pause on changing health departments.
It removes politics from public health, which at this moment would be a reckless and dangerous course.
The governor intervenes on an effort to dissolve one of the state's largest departments during a pandemic.
In just hours, the first person in Washington will receive the Pfizer vaccine. UW-Medicine will do a soft launch for a select group of healthcare workers tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jessica Janner Castro.
And I'm Mark Wright. Good evening. So Washington has received 62,000 doses so far. The first group to get it is known as 1A. It includes healthcare workers in high-risk settings, patients, first responders, and staff at long-term care facilities.
It's tight right now. 62,000 doses of vaccine is not enough for that whole 1A group, which is at least 500,000 people in that 1A group. So it's going to take a while for us to have enough vaccine to everyone.
So here's what happens next. The people vaccinated this week will get their second dose about 3 weeks from now. Pfizer's vaccine is only approved for people 16 years and older. Next month, studies will look into whether the vaccine is safe for pregnant women and children. 50 million Americans are expected to be vaccinated by the end of next month. Most won't get it, though, until at least the spring. Officials say they have purchased enough doses to vaccinate every American by the end of June. But that relies on other companies being as successful as Pfizer in getting FDA approval. The FDA advisory panel will meet Thursday to discuss Moderna's emergency use request.
Two of the first healthcare workers to give and receive the Pfizer vaccine in New York today were black women. It's a move some say could help counter skepticism among black and brown communities. King 5's Brit Moorer joining us live now to explain the efforts to address some long-standing concerns. Brit?
Jessica, a recent Pew Research study suggests black Americans are the most likely not to take the vaccine. Health experts are saying it does no good if people don't take the vaccine, especially those in groups most at risk.
How do you feel about the vaccine? Do you plan to get it as soon as you can?
Absolutely not. I won't get that as soon as I can at all.
Darnisha Weary will wait to get the vaccine, even after finding out one of the first healthcare workers to take it was a black woman.
I was like, oh, how smart and how clever. It felt very much intentional. It felt very staged because I think they do know that there's a lot of anxiety around the vaccine in the black community.
Jordan Michael Whitby understands the anxiety, but says the benefits outweigh the risks.
Even though I'm worried a bit, and I'm very hesitant to be hopeful, I'm gonna do it.
Much of the hesitancy among the black community is related to the history of unethical medical experiments done on black people, like the Tuskegee syphilis study.
For a population as a whole to have very little buy-in for the only real solution that we have to COVID-19 right now would actually compound the injury that COVID-19 is having on African-American populations.
But health experts say in order to work towards rebuilding trust, scientists have to be transparent.
It's not just about what we know, it's about what we don't know and what we hope to know and what we hope to find out.
Dr. Michelle Andrasic, the director of social and behavioral sciences at Fred Hutch, says it's important to highlight the way science has moved forward, pointing out that there are rules in place to make it difficult for scientists to be unethical.
And as these vaccines roll out, I think it'll be really important to make sure, again, that people have the information they need to make informed decisions.
Dr. Andrasic says partnering with community organizations is key in getting people on board, especially those within the black community. And she says it's all about making sure that information is translated. She says partnering with faith leaders and activists will be critical as the vaccine rollout continues. In Seattle tonight, Brit Moorer, King 5 News.
All right, thanks, Brit. The State Department of Health will host 2 virtual meetings to answer your questions about the safety and development of the vaccine. The first one is tomorrow night at 5 p.m. The second event is in Spanish on Thursday. And you do have to register for the meetings in advance. You can text the word register to 206-448-4545. We will send you a link to do that.
Once frontline healthcare workers are vaccinated, long-term care communities are next. But that likely won't be happening for several more weeks. The president of Merrill Garden says this has been a long 9.5 months.
We've been working hard for this, and I think this is the beginning of the end of the pandemic. I'm confident that we're getting there.
Many residents of long-term care facilities will receive the vaccine through a federal pharmacy program that begins in late December and will draw from Washington State's allotment.
When it's time for the general public to be vaccinated, it should not cost you anything, insurance or not. This is because the federal government invested $10 billion in vaccine development and distribution. Medical providers can charge a fee for giving shots, but insurance companies are expected to cover that. You may have to file a claim, and if you don't have insurance, that fee should be covered by the CARES Act Provider Relief Fund. For more information on the vaccine, text the word vaccine to 206-448-4545. We will send you a link right to your phone.
New tonight, the number of inmates with COVID at the Airway Heights Correction Center near Spokane has hit 869. That's nearly half the prison's population. Families of inmates, advocates, and state senators are calling for change.
Much more needs to be done to protect those in our prison populations. And I think a lot of what that means is simply letting people go faster, right? The means to provide a pathway other than incarceration for folks, especially those in community facilities.
When asked during a virtual meeting when inmates might get access to the COVID vaccine, there was no clear answer. Right now, police in Issaquah are looking for answers after a man was found dead inside of a car on Renton-Issaquah Road Southeast. Police say when they got there last night, it was clear the man had died under suspicious circumstances. They are treating this as a homicide.
There's been a lot of back and forth on the future of the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department. Now everything is on hold after the governor issued a proclamation today halting a decision to disband. Here's King 5's Perrise Thomas on what this means.
We can stay focused on doing what's the most important thing for everyone right now.
Health officials like Dr. Anthony Chen agree with Governor Inslee, saying there are bigger things to worry about at the moment, like the pandemic.
We are just very glad and relieved that the governor intervened to ensure that the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department can continue to focus on COVID-19.
Earlier this month, the Pierce County Council brought up the possibility of dissolving the health department, replacing it with a new department run exclusively by the county. It would require the health director to report directly to the county executive instead of an 8-member board of elected and community leaders.
This was quite a surprise when it was dropped on us a couple of weeks ago. No one knew about it.
One person who's been very vocal in support of the dissolve is Councilwoman Pam Roach. She's a sponsor of the proposal. We spoke with her earlier this month.
Everybody in the county should have equal ability to have themselves represented on the Board of Health. That does not exist today.
Currently, a Board of Health with members from Pierce County Council and the city of Tacoma run the department. Under Governor Inslee's proclamation, the only way a dissolve could happen is if all parties agree to the termination or if one party receives approval from the Secretary of Health. The order is effective immediately and will remain in place during the state of emergency.
We're happy to have a conversation. This is just the wrong time. I mean, the first doses of vaccine were given out today.
Perrise Thomas, King 5 News.
Time now for the Fast Five on King 5. Attorney General William Barr gave the president his resignation today and will leave the administration on December 23rd. Deputy Attorney General Jeff Rosen will serve as acting Attorney General. The Seattle City Council has approved a new $5 million relief package to support small businesses impacted by the pandemic. The funds will be split between restaurants and bars and hospitality workers. UW will not play in the Pac-12 football championship on Friday night. The team does not have enough student athletes on scholarships to play due to COVID. Oregon will replace UW in the big game against USC. Open enrollment for the Washington Health Benefit Exchange closes tomorrow. You will need to select an insurance plan by 11:59 p.m. if you want coverage starting on New Year's Day. And if you don't make the deadline, you can still enroll until January 15th, but coverage will not begin until February 1st. The first free high-capacity COVID-19 testing site is opening up in eastern King County. The new site at Bellevue College opens up tomorrow. Hours will be Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Appointments are encouraged but not required.
Coming up, after weeks of election fraud claims and even death threats, the Electoral College finally puts to rest who our next president will be.
The governor is stepping up investigations into police shootings. We ask him if that means more body cameras.
And she's a Seattleite who found the spotlight. Tonight, the art community remembering the iconic Fosse girl.
But before we head to break, let's go ahead and check in with Jimmy Fallon for a look at what's ahead on The Tonight Show.
Hey everyone, tonight we have Gal Gadot, Ricky Martin, and music from Lana Del Rey, plus the original cast of Saved by the Bell help us put a new spin on their theme song. It's a great show tonight